Hello, Christian again. You already know that from mymindfulguru.com, partnering up with Vivo Life this month to bring you these 4 key videos teaching you all of the main things you need to know about meditation and giving you 4 unique practices so that you can go off and create a wonderful lifelong habit. A quick recap, what have we learned so far? We've learned that meditation is the path of no resistance. We don't push thoughts away. We don't try and stop anything from happening. It's about acceptance and not judging anything that's happening and just observing it. So we're not pushing, we're sitting, and we're not trying to get anywhere. It is the only thing humans can do, which is a state of being and not a state of doing. And then in session 2, we learned that we are cultivating a deeper state of awareness whereby we no longer have to ask anyone questions anymore. We don't need counsel anymore. We will know how long we need to meditate for, when to meditate, and we will learn that by cultivating this deeper consciousness that we will perform better and calmer in the world. And what else have we learned? Well, most importantly, we've learned that I have at least 3 different shirts in my wardrobe. So what are we doing in this session? Right, I told you that you have a deeper consciousness that you can connect to, which is beyond the body, it's beyond the mind, and it allows us to conduct ourselves in a way that is in alignment with how the true us, our true self, would want to conduct ourselves. Kind, benevolent, peaceful, serene, all of that good stuff. This is our state of being instead of our state of doing. Let's unpack this. How do we know when we're in one conscious state and then the unconscious state? Well, there are 2 different types of thinking. There is what I call passive thinking, which is unconscious or subconscious. It's below your conscious level. And then there is active thinking. These are thoughts that you create of your own volition. So the former, the passive thinking, is thinking that happens to you. So if you're identified with the mind and you're living through mind and ego, which 99% of the people on the planet do, of course they do, because we've got war, conflict, greed, jealousy, all that stuff. All that stuff disappears when you're a deep long-term meditator. So we have the passive thought, we're doing the washing up, we're driving the car, we arrive at the destination with no recollection of the journey because the whole time we haven't been present. We've missed our whole life. We are living through a veil of passive thinking that is happening to us. Again, teaching point, write that down. Passive thoughts happen to us and they interpose themselves between our consciousness and actual reality. They cloud our awareness, they muddy the water, and we can't really see what's going on, which is really sad because we're not actually living a life in reality. We're living life through a veil of passive thought. It's very, very tragic. And that's why people have car accidents and stuff, and they have lapses of awareness, lapses of attention. It's because thoughts are happening all the time. So instead, when we meditate and we increase this space between each of these passive thoughts, this space between each of those passive thoughts is the true you, the deeper conscious self, the spirit, the soul, the awareness, whatever you want to call it. That is the thing that we cultivate. And then instead of saying, right, well, the mind is this evil thing and we don't want to use the mind because it's got all of these thoughts, and thoughts are the problem. Thoughts are not the problem. The problem is the thoughts go unchecked. They're passive thoughts and not thoughts that you created. So they're not active thoughts. Active thoughts we can create consciously. Let's take the example of healthy eating, because Vivo Life is so good with advocating for healthy eating and healthy lifestyle. So we're walking down the supermarket and we see a lot of people just reaching for boxes and tins and things in plastic and just putting them in the shopping cart. Without reading the ingredients or really knowing what's in those foods, that is an unconscious way. Just, whatever tastes good, whatever is a primary reinforcer. Whereas I can consciously think, I can engage my mind as a servant and not a master. Very important that the mind is the servant and not the master. If the mind is a servant, I am creating the thoughts of my own volition through my consciousness. So the consciousness drives the mind as a tool. Just like it drives the body as a tool. I decide I want to run because it's healthy, I can run. Consciously decide, consciously command the body. I decide that I want to think, I consciously command the mind to think and create ideas and concepts. This is why we don't just want to always be in the present moment. There is a misconception in the mindful and spiritual traditions, certainly in the more contemporary ones, that we must always be in the present. We can't always be in the present because we need to plan that trip. We need to design the new iPhone. I don't know what it is you do, but the mind is a wonderful, wonderful tool as long as we are putting it to good use consciously. So we're walking down the aisle. I'm going to read that food. and I'm going to actively create thoughts that are associated with the ingredients, using my memory system of things that I already know, so that I am actively, consciously thinking about the things that I'm doing. So I don't just grab some food that is super cruel to animals and bad for the environment, full of non-sustainable palm oils and all sorts of things. I care about the planet, I care about animals, I care about my brothers and sisters. Of course I do, I'm a conscious being. Very, very important then that I engage the mind and consciously pay attention to the things that I'm doing to do the least amount of harm. It just makes sense, right? So when we meditate, we are engaging with the present. We are engaging with the awareness, the deeper awareness, so that when the meditation ends and we open our eyes, we are able to conduct ourselves more consciously in each moment by moment by moment. And all we're doing is being aware of the passive thoughts. One last point, the passive thoughts, it's very important to realize most of them have been put there by culture, put there by society, parents, education systems, the news, media, you name it. So unpicking those can be quite a challenge, but it can be done. And any knee-jerk reactions, any angry reactions or jealous reactions, generally those come from passive, unconscious thoughts that have been put there by any aspect of culture that we are immersed in. So we start to become aware of thoughts, we allow them to come and go, but we realize that we are not them and we don't have to react to them. And not everything that we think is right or true or representative in a veridical sense. In today's practice, in alignment with this idea of, there's passive thoughts happening to me, we obviously need to get better at observing those thoughts without rejecting them, remember, for however long we feel is necessary. So we are going to, sitting in the same posture, maybe you can't sit on the floor, sit on a chair, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters about meditation is that we do it every day. Nothing else matters. You can't do it right, you can't do it wrong. Just being present is being present. There's no good or bad or any aspect that you can get wrong with meditation. So in our posture, if we can sit on the floor, cross-legged, it's always good. Palms open, facing up to the sky, back straight, head tilted back ever so slightly, like we're trying to get the sun on the face. And in this meditation, again, I still want you to be aware of this point between the eyebrows. This is called our anchor point. We are aware of this point between the eyebrows, and it might help if the eyes are rolled back to stare at that point between the eyebrows. And in this meditation, as you are feeling that point, I want you to again breathe into that point and breathe out of that point, keeping the body as still as a mountain. Just imagine that mountain. No movement. Perfectly still, and we're feeling this point between the eyebrows. Each breath breathes into it, and each out breath breathes out from it. Now, each time a thought comes along, realize that it's a thought, it's not what you are, and perhaps you didn't call for it or ask for it, but it has arrived. This is a passive thought. Observe it as though you're observing a stranger passing you by in the street. Allow it to linger if it wants to linger, and just watch it without rejecting, without forcing. We can just accept that the mind has been very busy for a very long time, and that's okay. Allow the thought to be with you for as long as it wants to linger, and then let it go and watch it go away. As we sit here being aware of the space between the eyebrows with the back straight and the body very still, we're allowing anything that comes along. No resistance here. And if the mind wants to bring up 100 thoughts or 1,000 thoughts, we notice them at the same time we are aware of the point between the eyebrows. We watch them with our consciousness. We might want to label them. We might even want to have a little giggle at them. But while we are conscious, we know that the thoughts can have no impact on us because they're just thoughts. And they exist only in our head. 1 out of 8 billion heads on the planet, these thoughts exist in only this one head. So they are very unimportant right now. Remember not to be upset or distracted by the thoughts. Thoughts are not a problem during meditation. We are not trying not to have them. We are allowing them because they form part of our present experience. Our awareness is anchored between the eyebrows. And we may be aware of other sensations in the body too. Noticing any tension, but also realizing that we are not aiming for relaxation. Because we are alert and aware in this moment. We're so alert and so aware that no thoughts can take us off guard and take us into a negative mindset, because they're just thoughts. Likewise, they don't need to try and take us into any false positive mindset, because we want to see what's really there without coloring our perception. There's no good or bad. There's just what is in this moment, and in this moment, and in this moment. Feel the awareness growing inside the body. Feel that you can be aware of thoughts and sensations simultaneously. Our vase of awareness is so vast that it can feel the sensation between the eyebrows and notice thoughts at the same time, and perhaps hear sounds. But we have taken the decision consciously to sit still. And so we're going to allow everything that may happen. And we are just the observer of this happening. As we come to the end of this short practice, again we gently blink the eyes. And now the awareness sits in the space of the room or the place where we are, keeping the body very still. And we maintain our identification with the deeper consciousness, being spider sense ready that thoughts will no doubt come up again, and try and subdue and ameliorate that consciousness. But we don't allow that, because we know that we're not the thoughts, because we're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not any object. We are only awareness in this moment, in this moment, in this moment. In the final fourth video, I'm going to be talking about the Zen open awareness practice. So we are moving from our paying attention to an object, an anchor point, which is very mindfulness, which can be the breath, can be the point between the eyebrows, it can be many things. And now we're going to learn how to expand the awareness to have no object. And we're going to understand the difference, in case you're wondering right now, the difference between attention and awareness and mindfulness and what all of those things are in the nuance. So I look forward to seeing you in video number 4, and stay calm. See you soon.